you're an adult and you want to file for your parent, what are your options, especially if they entered without a visa? That's what we're going to be talking about in this video, so stay tuned because I know a lot of you have questions, especially if you have a parent here who entered without inspection. What can you do? Hi, my name is Kaushik Ranchod, immigration attorney representing clients throughout the 50 states. Been practicing over 20 years. You'll want to stay tuned to watch this video because we're going to give you some great information, and let's get started. First of all, let's talk about what are the options for your parents. So I'm going to start off talking about what the normal process is. And when I say normal, what I mean is what can you do for your parents? If they entered with a visa and you're a US citizen, even if they overstayed, you could file a green card application for them. That's if they're in the United States. If they're in the United States, filing a green card application includes filing the I-130 petition and demonstrating you have a real relationship. This is where the birth certificates are really important and gets very tricky, especially if parent is from India. A lot of times there's no birth certificate available, so then you have to provide secondary documentation in that respect and meet the other requirements if there's no birth certificate available. Not only do you need to file I-130, you need to file the actual green card application known as the 4085 adjustment of status. That makes sure that you are allowed to be in the United States and you're not quote unquote under legal terms inadmissible. That means basically you don't have some kind of immigration violation that's going to prevent you from being in the United States. So what is that immigration violation? What would prevent you? Well, certain types of crimes. If you previously overstayed, left the United States, and re-entered, multiple unlawful entries, which we're going to talk about some ways to overcome this in the latter part of the video. And also if you practice polygamy. So those are some examples. If your parent is abroad, you would file what's called an immigrant visa. With an immigrant visa, that's also known as consular processing. That's where you still file the I-130 here in the United States, but then the second step is with the Department of State. So that entails, then after the I-130 is approved, then it goes to the National Visa Center. That's where you need to demonstrate that you'll be able to financially support your parent. They come to the United States. So with the affidavit of support, I like to provide the last 3 years tax returns and W-2s, current letter of employment, and the DS-260, and also the other documentation that the National Visa Center requests. This is really important to get right because the National Visa Center likes to just send things and kick things back to you, which causes delays. And of course, you want to be with your parent as soon as possible. After that, it gets sent to the US Embassy where you're scheduled for an interview. What do you do if your parent entered without a visa? On our channel, we've talked a lot about the I-601, I-601A, where if you're a parent of a US citizen, if you're a child of a US citizen or lawful permanent resident, or the spouse of a US citizen or lawful permanent resident, you could file for a waiver. Well, in this situation, an I-601A is not available based off of those specific grounds. However, what you could do is you as the child could file the I-130, and then if there was a spouse who's a lawful permanent resident or a US citizen, they could file the I-601A. So you don't have to do the whole process in its entirety with the qualifying relative for the I-601A. Well, what if that's not an option? Another option is if you're in the military, you might qualify for parole in place. Okay, well, what if you're not in the military? Another possible option is a U visa. If your parent was a victim of a violent crime that qualifies as a U visa, and we can demonstrate you cooperated with the police, you have a police report, we can review that police report, make sure that you meet the U visa requirements. That might be a possibility as well. Well, what if you weren't a victim of a violent crime? There's another option called 245I, and you can see we like to explore all the different options that are available for you. So 245I in that situation, if you had a petition that was filed for you before April 30th, 2001, and it was approvable when filed, or you had a labor certification filed, and you were in the United States on December 20th, 2000, you may be able to qualify for 245I. Now with 245I, you also have to pay what's called a fine as well with the 245I application. But the great thing about 245I is it cures the entering without a visa, entering without an inspection. So 245I is a great option in this situation. This is something to be explored because you don't have to leave the United States if you're already in the United States, and you can file it all together as a one-step, what's called a one-step application, where you're filing the I-130 petition, where you're filing the 485, where you're filing work authorization, you're filing all of that together with the 245I application. Now, with that 245I application, it's important to show documentation demonstrating that physical presence requirement that I submitted earlier. And if you talk to your attorney, they can help you make sure that that's done correctly. You can see there are options for you, even if you entered without a visa. There's not as many options as if you were actually married to a US citizen or lawful permanent resident, but there are options. One question that I get asked is, well, I'm a lawful permanent resident, can I file an I-130 petition for my parent? No, you can't, but what you can do is you can become a citizen and then file for your parent. I hope this video served you. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. By watching this video, you're bettering yourself, and by bettering yourself, you're bettering your family, and by bettering your family, you're bettering the world. And if you have questions, you can subscribe, watch our video on parole in place or U visas so you can learn more about those options. Bye for now.